Greetings are always something of an instructional manual, and as the representative of our host, our chairman, the former president of the Bundestag, Norbert Lammert, who has expressly instructed me to greet you all, I will also use these introductory words before I speak on the subject to make it clear to you, first of all, how much everything concerning the subject of Jewish life is a matter close to our hearts, and not just since today, if you allow me this brief advertising block on our own behalf. We are somewhat proud that the Konrad Adenauer Foundation was the first of all political foundations to enter into a formal partnership with a Jewish organization, and I'm very pleased to see here my dear friend Deirdre Berger, the long-time Berlin director of the American Jewish Committee, and who is now Volker Beck's comrade in arms at the Tikvah Institut. Here in the ranks. In 1979, more than 40 years ago, the AJC and the Adenauer Foundation decided to carry out an exchange between German and American groups, which still exists today with great success, and which is one of the flagships of the Our office in Israel, which deals not only with German-Israeli relations, but also with Germany's relationship with Judaism. And as I said at the beginning, this matter is close to my heart because I had the honor and the pleasure to head the Adenauer office in Israel. And Yiddish is one of my everyday experiences in Jerusalem. During my daily use of public transportation, I found myself repeatedly listening to the Haredim, the ultra-Orthodox, who were traveling with me. My grandma always told me not to do that, but I was struck by how much I understood, that much about how much German is Yiddish. Since my return, I've been in charge of the Foundation's Historical and Scientific Department and the Archive for the Christian Democratic Politics, and it is very important to me to place our relations with Judaism more firmly at the center of our work. Just a few weeks ago, we attracted a bit of attention by having the good fortune to invite, there was the Frutsta, and as the keynote speaker of our annual event with the 20th of July Foundation, Joseph Schuster, the president of the Jewish Council of Jewish, was our host. And he gave a remarkable speech on Jewish resistance to the Nazi regime at the Jewish Museum in Berlin. And as if it needed a very recent proof to emphasize our openness to the topic of Jewish life, it was a coincidence that today we not only have this important event in our house, but in cooperation with the Central Council of Jewish and several Jewish organizations with the Landschaftsverband Rheinland, also an exhibition which seeing under the title Helping Means Life, Jacob title and the Association of Russian Jews in Germany, 1929-35. And if you promise me that you will not use the visit of the exhibition to slurp important panels and lectures during this conference, then I will even tell you where it is located, namely on the first floor of this building. This enthusiasm for the topic, which encompasses the entire CAS, and especially our political education department, also has a historical basis, which is rooted in our namesake that Konrad Adenauer made great efforts to bring Jewish life in Germany closer together again with the reparation agreement with Israel. And it was not just a political calculation and the desire to solve the entry card back into the circle of Western nations, but it was a moral and personal concern for him. Only a few people know that Konrad Adenauer cultivated a very intensive relationship with Judaism. It was two Jewish friends who were under pressure themselves who helped him in 1933 when he he, persecuted and deposed by the Nazi regime, found himself in the personal material need. However, Adenauer had an extraordinarily positive attitude towards the Jewish communities in Cologne from the very beginning, already in the time of the food shortage in Cologne, when Adenauer was the mayor of Cologne, and he got also the nickname Graupenauer. And even in these situations of emergency and misery, he made sure that kosher way of life was possible. His attachment went so far that Nazi propaganda and caricatures and inflammatory writings made Adenauer himself a Jew, even if Adenauer later made problematic but unfortunately also typical statements of the time, such as the stereotype that one should not underestimate the economic influence of the Jews. He nevertheless made great efforts throughout his life to ensure close cooperation with Judaism. Despite intensive research of my own on the subject, I have not been able to find out whether and what contacts Adenauer had with the Yiddish language, but it has been handed down that he had made an attempt to learn the Hebrew language during his grammar school years, and it is certain that Adenauer did not underestimate the effect of language as a factor of identification. Now we are a political foundation and not a politician's memorial foundation, and that is why it is also important to make clear to you that not only what this has to do with Adenauer, what is happening here today, but why this conference is politically important to us and why Volker Beck had to use only the charm and persuasive power to win us over as partners. The essence of democracy and its quality can always and only be seen in the way in which a society and political system deals with the interests and characteristics of minorities, whatever these minorities may be. The protection of these minorities, including the protection of their identity integrity, is elementary. And because language, especially the mother tongue, is nothing other than the expression of identity, it must also be given very special consideration and preservation. You will object that these are commonplaces and in keeping with the day a Sunday speech. Yes, perhaps, but the mere fact that violations of elementary fundamental rights of this kind are a daily occurrence worldwide, and that it is not exactly a majority of countries that give the protection of the cultural identity of minorities the attention it deserves, should be enough to dispel this objection. In the case of Yiddish, the case is somewhat different again. It is not only a matter of preserving identities, but, and this is the most important message of the conference, which is already expressed in the title, How German is Yiddish, and which justifies our considering this conference as part of celebrations of 1,700 years of Jewish life in Germany. It's not only about Jewish identity, but simply about the fact that Jewish and German identities have been closely connected, even interwoven over these 17 centuries, and that even the most unimaginable crime in human history could not and still cannot separate them. At the same time, however, it is above all a matter of ensuring that this unity is never again called into question. Yes, even it is not in the title, it's also about preventing anti-Semitism, and we as organizers are glad and grateful that the federal government Commissioner for Jewish Life in Germany and the fight against anti-Semitism, Felix Klein, has agreed to come tomorrow and will set as an example in this sense. It is important to me that the title question should not be misunderstood. How German is Yiddish cannot mean, and we will hear about that more in the course of this conference, to deny Yiddish the character of an independent language. An independent language with its own literature. If we were to deny that, we would be doing a disservice to the course of highlighting the importance of this language. An independent language, yes, without a doubt, but one that has not only never lost its weighty German component over the centuries, but even far away from Germany in language practice, but which at the same time has also had an effect on the development of the German language. Many words of our everyday language, I have to explain this here, came into our vocabulary from Hebrew via Yiddish, from Kaf to the Berlin Dufte. This too confirms a very strong and clear rhetoric grown we. And we, that then, when Volker Beck will introduce the legal facts in more detail in a moment, also raises questions about the case law of the past decades of the Foreign Pension Act, which has cast doubt on this we in this case. However, there is more at stake than this just legal issues, and that is what makes this conference so politically explosive and necessary. Greetings and moderations usually have to refrain from political exaggerations, but in this case, plain language is unavoidable. Against the background of what has been said, it is completely incomprehensible that Germany, on the one hand, has committed itself to the European Charter for Regional and Minority Languages, which is to be welcomed without restriction, and thankfully also does a great deal to preserve Danish, Frisian, Romani, and Low German, but on the other hand, was not prepared to place Yiddish under the same protection. This is not only factually incomprehensible against the background of our historic responsibility and against the background of the fact that with the murder of millions of Jews, this language was almost destroyed at the time. It is just too criminal that much more is not being done to preserve Yiddish. Why can't we do what Bosnia and Herzegovina, Netherlands, Poland, Romania, Sweden, Finland, and Ukraine can? The whole of Europe is called upon to take care of Yiddish minority culture, says Andreas Schmidtges, who is also one of our speakers today. But wouldn't it be natural, indeed, just what is called for Germany to take a leading role in this? Because it is not only about the preservation of Jews, it is also about all of us. The star of the Yiddish literary sky, the winner of the 1978 Nobel Prize for Literature, Isaac Bashevis Singer, said in this his acceptance speech, somewhat pathetically but nevertheless accurately, Yiddish has not yet spoken its last word. It is wise and humble a language to all of us, the idiom of fearful and hopeful humanity. And one may believe him in the matter of Yiddish has not yet spoken its last word if one considers the boom of Yiddish choruses or festivals like the Yiddish Summer in Weimar, Yiddish Rap, the outstanding success of Thomas Mayer's book Wolkenbruch's whimsical journey into the arms of a Schicksal, with its Yiddish parts and what not, all praiseworthy and great, but whether the Jewish mother tongue, the Mama Shoshem, is preserved when it is practiced primarily at a leisure pastime or taken to the museum, even this question can not be completely avoided in a scientific conference. But there is also no doubt that one can hardly preserve what one does not know and has not intensively researched, and there are enough questions. How intensive is the relationship between German and Yiddish? Where are the obvious similarities? Where are the dividing lines? Where does the dialect end and the language begin? How can the closeness of Yiddish to German be made clear? To what extent was and is Yiddish part of the language policy in the Soviet Union, Israel, and of course in Germany? How has Yiddish developed in the diaspora? I, as the host, I am in the almost hellishly comfortable position of being able to ask these questions, but not having to answer them. Instead, there are more competent experts and committed people here to whom, however, and this again is the sweet duty of welcomer, thanks to all of you who come from Aarhus to Berlin, Paris, Ramat Gan, and to Providence, a warm welcome and a big thank you. And thank you to all goes to our partner, the Tikvah Institut, and to you, dear Volker. But of course, as this is one of the major events here, it is very good to have you here. And this is not only true for our speakers, but for all of you, ladies and gentlemen, who are so enthusiastic about this topic in such large numbers. Enthusiasm is the right keyword in the end, of course. And this is an unmistakable characteristic of language. It is always about enthusiasm and passion, which we also want to kindle with this conference. In his book, In the Palace of Memory, the French author Gilles Rosier formulated a sentence about Yiddish that could almost be something like a programmatic sentence for this conference. This language is an ocean. Its literature a sunken city. It waits impatiently at the bottom of the waters that have buried it. It remains in the hearts of men. We only have to die for it. In doing so, I wish us all a lot of muzzle, to to put it properly here on today's Sunday and tomorrow's Monday, to put it appropriately right away, that we can really reach the necessary depth during our dives and not get stuck in shallow waters, that we make many new discoveries, but also that we have 2 really fruitful days, which I look forward to together with you. Thank you very much for your attention.